welcome back. My name is Ellen. I'm a burnout and stress management coach, Notion nerd, and today we are going to be talking about 2-minute tricks to cut down on overwhelm. Yep, those are things that you can do in 2 minutes or less to help you better manage your stress and your overwhelm. Let's get into it. I had so much fun putting this list together, and my goal in doing it was really to put together various different types of tips for various different situations that could really meet various different needs with various levels of ease. And I really hope that you feel like I've done that. So go ahead and let's get into tip number 1. The first of these tips is from the guru of productivity himself, David Allen, from his book, Getting Things Done. Getting Things Done has a very elaborate productivity system that is associated with it that I will admit I never really bought into, but probably my biggest takeaway from that book was this tip, the 2-minute rule. The 2-minute rule basically says that if something takes 2 minutes or less for us to do, we should just do it. Get it done, get it off of our list. Small tasks on our to-do list are super easy to just put off until later, thinking it's kind of not important enough to warrant our attention. But the truth is, these small tasks can actually really start to clog up our to-do list and kind of become sources of overwhelm because there can, grow to be so many of them. So if it takes 2 minutes or less, just get it done. This trick helps you clear your to-do list, get rid of all of the clutter, and also helps to boost motivation and momentum. This is actually my favorite way to use this rule. I actually will mark, especially when I'm on the go, out of my house, not necessarily sitting at my desk, able to get things done. I will often add things to my to-do list and mark them as quick. That is a priority setting I have in my Notion systems. I mark them as quick to indicate that these are tasks that are going to be easy for me to tackle and get done. I often will start off my day then by focusing on getting these quick, small tasks done. That's usually the first thing I do when I go into my to-do list. And just like I said before, it gives you that boost of momentum and motivation to really dive into the bigger tasks in your day. So that is tip number 1, 2-minute tip number 1. Use the 2-minute rule. And if it takes 2 minutes or less, whether it is, checking your mail, taking your trash out, checking email, following up with somebody, just get that thing done instead of adding it to your to-do list. Tip number 2 is all about deep breathing. Now, deep breathing is something that is highly effective, used a lot in stress management techniques because deep breathing is known to trigger what is called your parasympathetic nervous system. It's basically the part of your nervous system that instead of ramping up your stress, helps to calm you back down. But there are 2 really important aspects of deep breathing that I'm going to attempt to demonstrate right now. So those 2 important aspects of deep breathing are the speed at which you're breathing and where you're breathing from. Now, when we're stressed, what we often do is we breathe from our chest. It's a lot of this action when you're breathing. So if you're noticing that your chest is moving a lot, you are probably not doing your deep breathing in the way that we should be. What we actually want to do is we want to breathe from our belly. So if you had to do it, you've probably done this before, put one hand on your chest, put one hand on your stomach. And when you take a deep breath in, you want this hand to move. It's kind of the unsexy style of breathing. But when we breathe from here, when we breathe from our diaphragm, it is triggering that calm down part of our nervous system much more than when we breathe from our chest. So that's the first big thing, is making sure you're breathing from your belly, aka your diaphragm. The second big thing though, like I mentioned, is the speed with which you're breathing. We don't want to be breathing quickly. You can still breathe in a way that is stress inducing, or basically the not calming down your stress response if you are breathing from your diaphragm, but you're breathing too fast. I actually learned about a breathing strategy called straw breathing, where you put your mouth into the shape of a straw and slowly breathe in and out through your mouth as you are doing it. Now, what I love about this strategy is it makes it much easier to regulate the speed with which you are breathing. So those are some ways in which to make sure you are doing deep breathing for relaxation and stress management and for managing your overwhelm. Tip number 3 is one of my favorites. Have a dance party or just put on your favorite song. Seriously, when we are overwhelmed or stressed, sometimes it's difficult for us to focus on our tasks and our responsibilities. So the best thing we can often do for ourselves, which I will admit is often really hard for a lot of us, is to take a break. And what better way to take a break by using the powerful tool that is music and our own bodies to kind of shake some of that overwhelm and stress out of our system. Seriously, not only that, but when we dance and listen to music, and I'm totally going to go Legally Blonde here, exercise gives you endorphins, and endorphins make you happy. Seriously, our brains release endorphins, which is a natural stress fighter. And just by doing something little, like having a little, like it could even be a seated in your chair dance party to one of your favorite songs, can be a small, easy, simple trick for managing overwhelm and stress. Additionally, taking dance breaks can actually increase our energy levels to improve our focus and get us back to the task at hand. When I have students that are struggling focusing and just kind of getting back into the swing of things in my day job, one of the biggest things I tell them to do is stand up and move around. When we sit for extended periods of time, we get tired. So that is the added bonus of the dance break part of this, which yes, is optional, but that's the added bonus of it, is that it boosts your energy as well. Tip number 2 is to keep a 1-line or 5-minute journal. They do sell a 5-minute journal online, just like the one I'm showing here. I got this in a swag bag at a conference. This is a pretty straightforward system. The same prompts are repeated day to day, where it asks, what are you grateful for? What would make today great? Daily affirmations. And then there's an inspirational quote at the top. Online journals have a very, very similar setup, except it's 1 line. In that case, you just write out a line that summarizes your day. Now, the benefit of this for overwhelm and stress management is that journaling in general, we know to be very good from a mental health perspective. But this is a great alternative when you really just don't have as much time to sit down and do a full-blown journal entry. You can still get those self-awareness and de-stressing benefits, but it's going to take a whole heck of a lot of less time. Now, you don't need to buy a book like this to do a 5-minute journal. You can very, very easily put the similar prompts that are in this book inside of a Notion template, for example, or just writing them into some sort of a notebook. You can very, very easily make this for yourself without spending any money. And frankly, like I said, I got this in a swag bag from a conference, and I really don't know that it is that groundbreaking of a product in and of itself to justify the price tag that I'm sure goes with this product. So if you go down this route, my recommendation would be to make something of your own, create a Notion template that you can just click into every single day, or just get a journal that is dedicated as your 1-line journal. But like I said, just a quick, simple entry to capture those pieces of self-awareness to kind of help bring you back to a state of gratitude can be very, very helpful from a mental health perspective and for de-stressing. Tip number 5 is all about doing a brain dump. There is nothing quite like dumping everything that's in your brain onto a piece of paper to get you out of overwhelm. One of my all-time favorite quotes about overwhelm is that overwhelm isn't having too much to do, it's just not knowing where to start. And when we have a lot on our plate, it's really, really easy for us to feel that feeling. Doing a brain dump is incredibly helpful. Just by taking a few minutes to write every single thing down that is in your brain, or type it out, it really doesn't matter. You can brain dump into Notion just as well as you can brain dump into a notebook. You can release all of those thoughts and ideas that are stuck in and frankly clogging up your brain to relieve and give you some of that much needed brain space. But bonus, when you're doing a brain dump, you're not just clearing your mind, you're also creating a reference point for yourself so that you can then look back at what you've written down to clearly identify what might be some of the priorities and the things that you really need to focus on now versus what you can work on later. This is really helpful for prioritizing as well as uncluttering your brain so that you can get over that hump of overwhelm. Furthermore, doing a brain dump is always really, really helpful for getting you unstuck. So there's lots of benefits here, but overwhelm is definitely a big part of it. Tip number 6 is to clean your desk. Our environment is a massive source of stress. And when that environment is cluttered, it's really, really easy for it to manifest itself in us as overwhelm and stress. Plus, that mess can be a constant source of distraction that really just keeps us from being as effective and productive as we need to be, which then might even create a little bit of a snowball effect of further overwhelm. So if we just take 2 minutes to clean and organize our space, it can massively impact our productivity, our focus, and our feelings of stress and overwhelm. And again, it can be as simple as 2 minutes. One of the ways in which I do this is I have a morning daily tidy that I do to start my day to make sure I don't have, a collection of mugs and bowls because they do tend to accumulate on my desk. to make sure that things are put away, to make sure that I occasionally will dust in that 2 minutes, but sometimes just as a little break to kind of reset myself, I will just do a quick cleanup of my desk. This may mean moving things off of my desk into my filing folders, as well as various other tasks, putting pens away. It really doesn't matter what you do, but any little thing you can do to make sure you're keeping your work environment as tidy as humanly possible can be very, very beneficial. And it's really not just a physical task. It really does have tremendous benefits on your mental health, because that environmental impact on our stress and our overwhelm is often overlooked, but very, very important. Last but not least, but definitely related to this notion of environment, is tip number 7, do an unsubscribe purge. So cleaning your desk was all about, cleaning your physical environment. Doing an unsubscribe purge is really about your digital environment. We have just as much digital clutter nowadays as we do physical clutter in our lives. And email overload can be a massive source of that for so many of us. Our inboxes can become quickly cluttered with promotional emails, newsletters, and just various other forms of digital communication that do not serve us. This can make it difficult for us to focus and to prioritize our time effectively. However, doing an unsubscribe purge can not only help minimize that digital clutter now and in the future, but it also is a great 2-minute trick for helping us manage overwhelm. Unsubscribing from email lists is simple but very, very effective for reducing our stress levels, for managing our overwhelm. Plus, it is fast AF. If you spent just 2 minutes going through newsletters that you realize you don't actually want anymore, just think about how many newsletters you could ultimately unsubscribe from. I hope that if you are on my email list, I am not one of them. When you receive fewer emails, you are less likely to feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of digital communication that is coming into your space and into your life. And this can really just help you focus on the most important things, which frankly, this whole notion of talking about overwhelm is exactly what that's all about. It reduces information overload, which is massive for so many of us, because when we are constantly bombarded with information, it can be really, really difficult for our brains to determine what are the most important things for us to focus on. So with that, that is it. Those are my 7 tips, 2 minutes or less, that you can do to manage overwhelm in your life. I hope you got a new idea out of this that is going to be really, really helpful and effective for you. And if you've got any questions, do not forget to drop them below. If you've been liking what you've been seeing in this video, do not forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. I have all sorts of requested videos that are coming up. Thank you so much for those of you who are sharing those requests and dropping those comments below. Really, really appreciate it. I'm still figuring out this whole YouTube thing, and I know that it helps with the algorithm and all of that jazz. I don't know specifically how yet, but I'm getting there, and I appreciate you coming along for the ride. So with that, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.